Hello and welcome. This is Ari Lax, and this week I'm going to be playing with Ad Nauseam Tendrils in Legacy. So this deck's been kind of the deck that's been associated with me a bit for a long time in this format, and it really looks a lot the same as when I first played it right after Preordain was printed, actually. So kind of going through what's going on, you're playing a bunch of cantrips, you're drawing a bunch of cards that produce additional mana. You're playing some card that lets you cast or draw or cast a bunch of extra spells in a turn, either Past in Flames or Ad Nauseam. And then from there, you're just kind of casting a Tendrils of Agony after having cast 10 spells or 9 spells or whatever your opponent's life total is at, and dealing lethal to them. So you'll notice some things. So the list I'm playing tonight, traditionally there have been a little bit more on the discard front, but I don't mind trimming down a bit. I think 7's been like a historical number, but 6 works too. Flooding on these is really bad. You actually need a critical card count to kill your opponent. So sticking to just Duress and Therapy is great. And Therapy is specifically great because it just does everything. Especially with Gitaxian Probe. That card was just such a huge addition to this archetype when it was printed. I'm embarrassed to say I didn't even play it at the Grand Prix. I played Storm into Mental Misstep, which is just a sad joke. I do have a single Preordain in the cantrip stack. A lot of the lists have the 7th discard spell over this, but I felt a little light with just 8 actual filtering cantrips and not just, replacement cantrips. Looking at the spells, so Dark Petition's a big add. It lets you play a ritual or a tutor that doesn't cost you life or a 3rd mana the way that Grim Tutor does. I'm not sure if 2 or 1 is the right number, but we will see. The rest are pretty standard. You have 1 way to cast your graveyard. It was previously Ill-Gotten Gains, but Passive Flames has kind of shown its worth there. You have an Ad Nauseam to draw cards, though Royce Walter was spotted this last week playing an Empty the Warrens, and the slot of that is your quick kill condition, which isn't unreasonable. All the Infernal Tutors possible because it's the best one Tendrils. And then in the Ritual slot, you have a bonus Ritual of Arena Filth. Sam Black played this at the MOCS. I'm interested to see how it does. I don't know if it's good or not. But just functioning as another Dark Ritual is fine. And then 15 lands. I think 14 is craziness. I think this is about the bare minimum you can get away with. And Tropical Island versus Bayou is like the only real thing in my mind that's up in the air. Whether you want another black source or the blue source. The main deck, like I said, is relatively set in stone. They've stopped printing cards that do this. And they've stopped printing cards that do this. So you're really only and they've stopped really printing cards that do this on this power level. So the really only changes that could happen are if there's a better discard spell or some better middle engine piece that's printed. I think that the only thing that's going to change the main deck of Storm has to require some Past in Flames level card that some engine card like that gets printed, because the rest of the deck's not going anywhere in terms of you're not going to get a card that's on the power level of Dark Ritual anymore that does that. Looking at the sideboard, you've got a lot of spot answers to permanents. You've got Disfigures to pick away at Hate Bears. You've got like a Chain and a Hurkyl's Recall to bounce generic stuff. You've got Abrupt Decay to just kill things, including Counterbalance, which is a big one. You have another Bayou to bring it, or to a Bayou to bring in with the Abrupt Decays in case your first source gets wastelanded. You've got a Duress to bring in to up your count against heavy counterspell decks. Some Empty the Warrens as ways to cheat a win out effectively against decks that might be able to fight you in a long game if they go up to high counts of threats. A top against the decks that are again attacking you over time to keep your hand filtered well, and then some Xantid Swarms to cover decks with Flusterstorm. Overall, I think that people are going to overboard with this deck. By the way, I don't think you can go over more than 7, maybe 8 interactive cards, and the rest of your deck still has to be engine pieces, so just keep that in mind. I'll be keeping it in mind as I sideboard. Empty the Warren's Note is not an engine card, neither is Sensei's Divining Top, and if Bayou replaces a land like it often does, it's not either. I think this deck is, I don't know whether it's great. It's positioned somewhere in the top tier of Legacy. and that's what I'm trying to find out. The big problem with it is that the two most popular decks are bad matchups, Miracles and Eldrazi. But besides that, it just crushes everything else. So we'll see how tonight goes, and I'm happy to be storming again.